that are available to us. And I honestly think that the players have been pushing the boundaries even more with the game. They're learning themselves based on all champion matchups that it creates entertainment for us as well.
It does indeed. And this one is going to be entertaining. We're straight into it as we're going to be delving into the action. Tox versus Base as we kick it off here with the opening map.
We've got Base on Visor and we've got Eisen from Tox. Base just holding center map at the moment. Trying to keep an eye on what's going on. Here's the sounds behind him. Has a hard read on Tox, expecting him to go through the teleporter, but there are sounds going on, and he's like, you know what, he's maybe not arriving there. I should probably just look at where he actually is. I've heard that's a good strategy.
Probably. You'd imagine so. You want to base it off it, use those senses that you have. At this point, though, a bit of a timid early game. Both of them just playing around each other as the shots come through, getting close towards that minute mark now. There's no real hefty damage has been done to. A little bit of a slower affair.
I think with champions like this, where it's not necessarily high mobility, you've got a lot of utility available to you, you tend to have that sort of feel each other out moments at the beginning before the fireworks get set off.
There's a close call coming through. These rails are definitely nearly hitting the mark, but they're barely missing. Tox actually getting the connection back across as well. He's going to spook Base for the meantime, but here's the aggression, actually.
Yeah, a little aggressive push from Tox, but good predictive rocket, or spam rocket from Base, whichever you prefer. And stacks are going to remain fairly equal. Damage done to each other is equal. Tox is really trying to use the tri-bolt as much as he can, but piercing sight back up, and Tox had to really... He would have heard that being used, so I'm very surprised he pushed in the way that he did. And Base is struggling now to keep a stack that's not making him just railable.
Oh, the close connection there. Both of them slightly being out of range. The Railgun's going to come through. The speed being picked up as Base wants to try and hit the hyperdrive and bunny hop his way towards him to do some damage. Although he won't be bunny hopping over him right now in terms of the scoreboard.
Oh, he could almost have followed through that. I don't think he realizes quite how low he had Tox then. But Base has done quite well, although it was quite scrappy early on and very much not a clean situation. Oh, flying turret. See you later.
Base
is... Pardon?
It was like Portal.
A little bit, yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed that.
Oh, that's a jump right there. Look at that. In with the LG. Bit risky at the end, but nice way to open up the series for Base.
Yeah, it's a good way to finally kick it off as the damage is going to come through, adding to that stack as well as he picks up the armor. That's a pretty good opener as well as he gets the shot straight through. Tox is low now. The man that's normally so aggressive going to have to try and play defensive, but he can't put up a fight as he'll hit the DECK as Base smites him down to get himself a second zoo.
Base moves away from the heavy. Thought it was too dangerous to hang there with just 50 HP. Does get a rail off, but resource is still going to favor Tox. If he can rush his way towards the Mega super fast, then he's actually got a chance to bully Base off of it, but he doesn't do it. He gives some respect. And this is where I feel that Tox, when he loses that urgency to push player who's not that strong off the items, I feel like that's the confidence missing a bit from Tox. He's such a confidence-based player that if he can get into that zone, then you see him just fragging left, right, and center. Now, Base is just totally destroying him with the lightning gun. That felt like a formality for him.
Base is definitely in his zone right now, doing his best Kanye West impression as he's living his movie, trying to carry on with the damage coming across, the explosions going out to really soften up his food as he's trying to toy with him here. A near miss on the railgun once again. The movement's going to come into play though as he elegantly makes his fight. Call him Zeus as he is the god of thunder right now.
Yeah, I think Tox is going a little heavy-handed on all the tri-bolt that's being used. He's been doing some good splash damage, but that's more or less all that it's been. Lightning gun almost secures the kill for Base. Tox is so weak at the moment. Not a bad spam rocket, but I think Tox is going to have a hard time negotiating the heavy. He somehow does it. Base is going to give way just because one rocket, I think, would have killed off any hopes that he had.
This is actually really nice predictive play with the visor as well to actually be able to set himself up so nicely. Very calculated, slow and steady. He knows he has the lead, so he's just going to be holding those tight, curt angles and trying to hit those lovely shots across. The rocket's coming through, though, spotting the turret and being able to take it down, holding, waiting for the aggression to come towards him, but it doesn't look like Tox fancies it just yet. However, though, he kicks it into overdrive as the lightning comes through, and he'll tase him straight down, Zoo.
Tox just had enough then. You can see the lightning gun come out. The amount of damage that he was dishing out is just ludicrous. If he can do a bit more of that, then we're in for a treat. Because I was about to say that we're getting to halfway through the game and Base is just in the position he loves to be in. 4 frags up, half the game to go. he can play. He has so many options to himself there that he's so great at using.
That's rough as well. Good prediction coming through from Tox, expecting to go back through the portal and actually have that set up, although the tags are beautiful. Straight through the portal as well, with the Rail lowering him down. Base has to get out of there, as he's going to be backing off. Not too much health to actually play with. Starts to re-add to that, but look at the movement from Tox. He is just bouncing around.
This is what we need to see. This is absolutely what we need to see. Almost going for the Rail. These are the type of shots that he can land. That seem impossible to us mere mortals. He's got the mega health, so all resources. This is a recipe for disaster for base. If he can't set up perfectly on the defense, Tox is going to be running at him.
You're effectively facing God King Tox right now, as he's in his prime form. The tag will come through, softening up his food as he wants to try and play with him straight through the portal. He'll grab that extra armor to toughen himself back up as well, so he can really take a beating as he looks to try and do some damage. Chucking out the turret, the aggression coming around, the lightning gun is in his hand, and he wants to just strike his way through him. He burns through, base is down, and Tox gets a second.
That was actually insane lightning gun from base. Gotta give credit there. Ridiculous aim we just saw from him, but Tox did persevere. He's managed to get some items straight after, and he might be able to even challenge for this heavy. It's a long route around, but he's doing it, and items all his. And a fake jump there, I think, just to move things around, but it didn't do anything for him as he loses most of his overstack.
He'll go straight up with a turret landing on the ridge, so we can try and do a little bit of extra damage coming across. He will ward him off and back straight out. He's been effective with that turret so far.
He has been, yeah, absolutely. I like how it was so deliberate that he wants the turret to go up first, and then, all right, I'm going to follow in after my droids have done some work.
Just about to hit that 7-minute mark here. There's a 2-frag lead. Could there actually be a little bit of equalization occurring? The battle with the lightning guns, both of them being so precise. They both end up basically in the same position, but the railgun's going to be the difference maker. See you later, Zoo. He hits a tasty one.
That's what I want to see. That's what I signed up for when we were getting Tox games. Bounce pad turrets again, my favorite. Tox is still able to perpetuate this control, so base is just figuring out a way. How do I slow the game down for 3 entire minutes and somehow survive these ridiculous rails that are being landed? 2 in a row, going with the lightning gun close range, and that's it. Jackie gets tied up. He's getting a bit hyper at the moment. He just wants to reposition himself as fast as possible to do damage off the spawn, but he misses the chance, and you do have heavy available to you. If he loses out heavy, that's actually a bit of a problem.
This is what I'm loving right now, though. It's the movement. You can see the difference in the play style, no matter if it's going backwards, if it's going forwards, if it's going side to side. He's like the Great Gas Elevator. You just can't stop him, and he's quick about it. As now we fall back in. 4-4, 8 minutes, not too much time left to play with. A fair bit of map control actually coming through from Tox, because it looks like he does have a little bit of an upper hand here in terms of locking it down to have complete control of the items.
Yeah, there's now a bit of a decision he has to make, because we've got heavy and mega spawning at the same time. Here's decide, what item does he want to go for? Does he want to go for none of them and try and see what base does? So you have this sort of like weird chicken egg kind of moment. They decide to back off, get each items respectively. No punish there, so in terms of stack, totally equal. In terms of position, it feels like Tox is a little ahead.
Tox really going to try and hit him with the toxicity, and so that level of lethality that he has, the ferocity shining through as he hits one rail, looks for a second on the glancing shot across. It would have been so graceful if he landed it as he was just gliding across. Although Tox straight back in, the turret's going to go up to try and bait out the shot. Wants to get the tag him with the rail, so close to landing on the knee. The fight is coming there, but the rocket near misses. This is so high octane, Zoo.
Unfortunately for Tox, though, he's missing some of these shots that he's setting up. Goes for the rocket jump up, finds him over at the light armor. But Tox ends up suiciding. Base is so weak and the turret's still knocking a little damage, so Tox will have a rough idea where he is. Vertical rail might actually finish the job. If he can just find the extra damage. Base is running the hell away. Goes up to bounce pad, finds the 25 health bubble to put himself up that railable threshold. And it's possibly going to be back to equal items. Tox just needs the weapons at the moment. Once he gets the lightning gun, maybe through the teleporter and rockets, then he'll be chasing.
This could be absolutely wild. If it's decided off the back of a suicide, Tox will be so frustrated in himself. Instead, though, he's going to channel that anger and use it to put himself into a power play position. The fast hunt coming around, you can see that level of sheer excellence in the execution of his movement as he gracefully darts himself around the map like a gazelle, trying to chase. The turret goes down. He gets the tag across the near miss with a rocket, almost a follow-up on the rail. He's trying to take him down, but he can't quite land it, Zoot. He has 10 seconds, essentially, at this point, as he'll get himself back in close proximity. He has a rough idea of where he's going to be, but if he can't find him, this will be Base getting himself the first map pick up here, and it looks like he's going to take it.
Yeah, that's it. Running out of seconds. Tox is going to end up losing that. Base squeaks past. Really, really high-paced match, and eventually all decided up at top connector when Tox made that crazy jump up.
It is wild. I mean, if you think about it off the fact as well, essentially decided by that one fight with the rocket, the overcommitment there on the suicide, it looked like he was going to absolutely smash it out and be able to walk away with that, but...
It's so tight there is the problem, that even though you're hitting rockets and he was banging on with that, there was lots of self-damage, and I'm sure that Base did self-damage to himself too. Base was slight stack advantage, I think, even though the light armor was just getting picked up. It's a crazy play to make, and it's one that can definitely work.
Yeah.
I think it was just maybe unnecessary because it was tied anyway.
Yeah, it's one where you look at it and you sort of think it would have been such a ridiculous decider to really give him that extra edge, and just in terms of Tox level gameplay, right? It's kind of expected because he is just a madman. We like to see that, but it just didn't work out. It's one of those where it's a swing and a miss.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to take your opportunities when they present themselves. That was my favourite one. Sorry for headphone users if I screamed a little loudly then, but it was exciting. But I think Tox, really, if he could just kind of... he didn't actually get the light armor. That's the problem. He really needed that jump, the angle, just to be a degree different, and he would have flown into the light armor, and then he probably would have guaranteed himself a win on that fight, actually. Yeah. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That could have been crazy, because obviously he then would have got the additional armor, straight through with the rocket. You're walking away basically with a strong commanding lead. And it's just one of those where it really is a gamble. I don't think it was an incorrect decision to make, because if it would have worked, we would have been praising the hell out of it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he knew exactly what Base was doing, and we saw Tox's confidence. It's so exciting when it happened. It's just the way that he moves around the map. It doesn't matter if he's even hitting anything or not. It's just the fact that he's willing to rocket jump into your face. Yeah. He's willing to go for... It's not just about control. It's just constantly pressuring you. Whether he lands the rails or not, you're terrified because you know it's Tox.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's the level of sort of like how well executed it is. It just makes you impressed by his overall movement of just walking one side of the map to the other. He's constantly moving. The shots that are coming out are literally built into his play style of movement. He doesn't have to stop. He doesn't have to readjust himself. It was the strafe jumps where he was basically taking Ferrari peaks and just whizzing by and missing by literally centimeters. Some of the ones he hit were just disgusting. So, I mean, if we see any more of that, I think this series is going to be jam-packed with action, and that's what I want.
So coming up next, it looks like, let me have a look, Ruins we have for ourselves. We're going to be going over to Ranger and Slash, and people are going to be excited for that. Tox lost his Slash game last week against Wenger on Molten. This is not Molten. It's going to be a very different matchup for him. It'll be versus actually, Ranger might have been the champion that was used. It was definitely a mid VQ3 champion that Wenger was playing. But Ruins is a really good map for Slash. The amount of just... The way that you can combo your movement around the map, if that makes sense. You can just... Everything just works together so well for it. We would expect Tox to win this one. Even though it's not his map pick, this is his champion, and his alone, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we saw as well just how precise it was over the course of that map as well. It was literally basically building us a frag movie for the replay package there, with just how incredibly executed it was. I feel like in terms of confidence, he's still at that peak. He's still very happy to go into it. I don't feel like he's the sort of character that's going to take this too hard as well. You know, he's going to dust off the dirt from his shoulders. He'll get straight back into it. He's had that experience.
He's very, very good at that. The one thing is that even the time between waiting for maps is enough time. You've got this energy bar. He's got the confidence, and as time goes away and he's not actually in game, it's like it starts ticking. So he wants to get back in game and get back into that confidence, because it felt like it took like 2 or 3 minutes for him to feel it in Awoken, and then when he did, it was like, okay, Base is like, I'm glad I got that lead early on, because otherwise I'm absolutely
it's
stuffed
straight
here.
into sort of like the next gear of obviously just being way more hyper. The way he rotates, the way like you can see with the timing as well. There's so much going on in his mind, but it's so fluid. Like he's getting the turrets out absolutely beautifully, still bringing that into his movement whilst he's also getting off shots. That it's just like, how is all of this coming together so gracefully? It's actually really beautiful to watch.
Completely. And now the what it comes back to for base is just, can he get that early lead again? If he plays from behind, is where I see him struggle a lot more. Comebacks definitely not what he's not like the comeback kid that we have in Chain.
Yeah,
he needs to get a good start, and the thing is he's very, very good at it. So it's where we expect his successes.
Well, let's see if he can try and have himself a great start here as we're back in once more. Base versus Tox. Map 2 is about to kick off, and already the movement is graceful.
And I'm just super excited that we're starting on Tox. And biases aside, it's just you see poetry in motion with Tox on Slash. You're looking at the world's best Slash player, and one of the world's best aimers as well. So it's in combination, it's fantastic. He's got the weapons that he needs. There's going to be mega up, not for a while. Base is just holding steady on his position. Does end up going through and ends up getting the lion's share of the damage.
Yikes, I'm surprised he actually even got away at that point there. Barely surviving, but he is going to be able to bang out just using those rockets on the spam to try and give himself a little bit of leeway to actually back off and get some stack back into play.
A good discipline from Tox, not committing to the heavy at all. He knew that he was low on health, and he couldn't even really challenge for any damage whatsoever. So he's going to have to play the slow game a bit, and I expect that he doesn't really want to fight, at least not head-on, for probably the next 30 seconds.
It's the way you can see as well, even with the movement, it's like he's got eyes in the back of his head, Zoot.
It's ludicrous. Blocking off the choke point, so base can't really push through. A little damage exchange. Nice rocket that base has at the end, but the thing is you need one light armor and your natural stack is almost full already for Slash. And that rail does definitely help.
Yeah, that is going to put him into a bit more of a power play position here. Fast in the aggression as well, but the rails are looking good right now. Both sides actually landing fairly effective ones to at least slow down the overall momentum into the game. A minute and 35 is already they're starting to transfer hefty damage across each other. This could be a bit of combat though, as they are going to spot them out. The rocket straight down in a close quarters area. It's a bit of a choke point, but these rails, Zoo, that is madness.
Base has got some excellent reads on at the moment. He's executing as well on all of that. Tox needs to get out. These crazy jumps from him. Can he really out-aim Base from this? Looking to combo a little, but Base is just going to close the gap completely. You've got nowhere to run and hide from what looks like the Sparty spot on the map.
That was a good tactic, though. I enjoyed it. The little hideaway, the squirrel position. He wanted to try and protect his nuts. Straight back into it, though. Base with the opening of the rocket. He's going to carry on with a strong lead as he picks up a second there onto Tox instantly. Straight to the rail, and that is going to be a connection. He is looking ferocious.
I just love how he's lining up the rails as well, knowing that Slash is likely going to whiz past. He just keeps hitting everything. Tox wants to get out of here. He can't do it. 3 in a row there from Base. He's now, well, 3-0.
Is this man a train, Zoo? Because I've never seen so many rails.
This is, yeah. How have I never heard that before in Quake? It's unbelievable.
There you go. That's what I bring. Citrus and train jokes.
It's fantastic. Well, Base's stack is unbelievable. And I talked about this earlier. If Base has a good start, life is difficult playing against him. He's so good at protecting his leads generally. And he's just hitting everything he needs to. The push in is flawless. Manages to get the orb frag. It's honestly perfect from Base.
This is just despicable. The gameplay that's coming out right now is absolutely disgusting. This should not be allowed on Twitch. And he's going to carry on and try and do some more damage as the shots are coming straight through. Zapping him down with a railgun. That's a 5-0. We wanted to see some madness from Tox, but we're seeing the descent into madness coming through for him right now.
The one problem from Tox is he's really not been landing the shots you'd expect from him. Sometimes he can string together all these plasma trail combos as well with other shots, but he's just slightly off the mark with a lot of weapons. Then we finally get a really good direct. Tox, although low, seems to be happy to have a confrontation of sorts. But there's a nice rocket jump from our Ranger player, and he's all set to possibly challenge for this heavy. He's decided not to go through the choke point. Tox just earns himself an incredibly valuable piece of real estate with that heavy armor. That's Mayfair for you right there.
Monopoly. I like it. It works well.
It's about as pop culture as I'm able to get.
We'll see how many we get in before the end of the show. And we'll see if that matches up with a tally of how many shots the base is going to hit with this railgun, because he just does not stop. His stack is through the roof as well. He has a massive edge, and the confidence is going to be teaming. There's another one to add up, and it looks like he wanted to land one final little love tap there to take Tox out. But Tox luckily gets away for a few more moments on this mortal earth.
Oh, love it. Little bounce pad. Oh, and the rail. Tox still hadn't found himself resources, just looking longingly at the light armor. Right off the spawn. Rocket jump across, and Tox gets crushed at nailgun.
Dude, this is just disgusting. Tox is being mopped up like a spilt drink. He just can't do anything about it. Right now, Base is the T-Towel that is wiping the floor with him as he's going to try and get away. Surely another round's going to come through and grace our eyes with some more depth-defying damage. Grabs himself the armor first, though, as he doesn't want to play too risky. He's incredibly smart, even when he's this far ahead. Goes up, and this is where some pain should be coming through.
Yeah, fortunately for Tox, he's managed to choose the right exits to escape Base's grip. But there's more resources and more confidence, and now he's locked targets with Tox, pushing forward, and Tox has the rail out for a moment, gets punished really hard. Very, very dangerous. Tox going for the rail, whether he misses or hits, Base probably is just waiting for that shot to be fired and then pushing in regardless.
Ooh, the rail nearly missing. This is going to be slowed down ever so slightly. The orb across to try and fake Tox out to see if he'll overcommit to it, as he uses it as a bit of a getaway maneuver to quickly adjust out of there. Going to bounce himself back around, rocket in hand, slowing it down now though, as he wants to change the tempo and hit him with a little bit of a switchback.
Good little jump. And control, consider it continued. The thing is, it's not too late. Tox still has a couple of minutes to go. As long as he gets himself full control by probably the 8-minute mark, 8:30 possibly his last chance saloon for him. That's the cutoff point. And Base knows it. He's not playing loose at the moment. If anything, he's tightened up his game a lot more and is not going to push in it unless he gets a great opening rail or rocket.
Yeah. As much as he was giving us just ridiculous plays consistently, now he knows it's not really worth it. You can just try and take a little bit of a back seat. This is smart, though, straight in, denying everything for Tox. He won't let this man get an edge, and all he's going to do is smooth off his edges as he wants to cut his way straight through him. The rocket as well, going to hit him with that shrapnel. Both of them hitting essentially the same position here with their actual health, though, so they do retreat for the meantime and call it quits for now. Good movement coming through with the rocket, though. You like to see it.
Yeah, it doesn't want to stay available for long at all. Not bad shot as well from Tox. He can't risk it. He was on about 10 health. And Base is going to be able to restock with the Mega, get himself down to heavy. And this is why Base all down to the last heavy anyway. He just did not want to give up that control for free to Tox and wanted to make sure that he was at least hurting him.
Oh, the spot there as well. Base, you could see the instant transition over. The rail was out, his hands were shaking, he knew what he was about to do with unleashing some hell here against Tox, and we're getting really close to that 8:30 bedtime that you set for Tox, and it looks like that's probably going to be the case here. I mean, you're 7-0, there hasn't been a response back in, he's not been able to get an opening frag on the board. It's worrying.
He chased it. Can he hit the rail? A rail wouldn't even kill him anymore. Base can dock him down, and it's happened. 8-0. I mean, I don't fully know the weapons that Tox had available to him, but I imagine he would have had definitely more than just rail. Who knows in terms of ammo situation. But he had to push in harder and with a different weapon where he could just get stuck in, because at that point, his stack was equal to Base's.
The lightning gun, though, just is so smooth. Finally, Tox will get himself a kill. All right, it's one at least, Zoo. It might be a little bit late into it, but it's something to give him some confidence. I mean, that's what he's going to need going into map 3, although it looked like maybe there might have been a gauntlet response coming back through. But Base, he hits himself to the 10 frag mark already, as there is nothing going right for Tox right now.
Tox knew what he was getting himself into. He went with, he's hitting him one rail. He might want. He has to chase this up. Actually, he does manage to get it. I just don't want to see any more of these rail switches. The problem he had before is he had either nail gun or rail or machine gun. That was his choice. It was not a good list of possibilities. He's just rushing in versus the rockets now. Oh my god, he's so close! I'd almost consider just rocket jumping into him. Machine gun. Well, he's got the rockets now. Inherited it off the corpse. This could be one of the most disgusting comebacks ever if it happens. But there's so much that needs to go right.
You've got a minute and a dream. Tox. He's a fast-paced player. The high-octane gameplay is what we root for, but this is really going to need to hit the bar to the next step. Although that's not what you want. Straight through him, cuts through him like a hot knife through butter. That is just despicable.
Nicely done from base to shut down any signs of madness occurring in the late stages of Ruins. Tox gets a good rail shot, but this is mostly just the show at this stage. I think base has done enough. But you can see that with Slash and the movement, you can make a quick comeback at the end of the game, especially if you're as fluid with the movement as Tox is. But you also know, as a defensive player, you just got to land a couple of shots and you can slow it down enough. Especially when they're going to come from me, they're going to chase directly, fire rockets behind. You've got an orb that works as well. Tox is usually very respectful of the orb, but he couldn't respect anything. And that's why the score's gone even more topsy-turvy.
Yeah, it is wild, really, how much of a lead we're actually seeing going into this, though. Especially if you take map 1 as a consideration, and then we're thinking about the fact this is Tox going into a champ that, it's exhilarating to see. This is kind of what was everyone's, like, on the tip of their tongue, right? That's not the result I expected at all. I mean, it's a bloody good one, and I did enjoy watching it, but it's very different.
Got 68% rail there for base. That's astonishingly good, and 27% rail for Tox, really not what we'd expect. Look at the control, 15 of each major item for base, 4 of each for Tox, sub 1000 damage. I mean, Tox just didn't seem himself a lot. We had an interview with him at QuakeCon,
right,
and he had a game versus a ranger on Ruins, and he didn't go into the heavy room for 5 minutes or so because he didn't want to take damage from him. And he's talking about how he's respecting the dire orb and so on. And I think he respects it for too long, or maybe he's wanting to approach it with such caution. He's just not building himself opportunities. And part of the reasons he was struggling this game is being able to get control. So I wonder if that had something to do with the fact that he was a bit shy of pressuring the items a little more. It's maybe a loose way to string it together, but there absolutely could be something in there, because a good ranger player can force you to have respect.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's especially as well in terms of just how exposed he was consistently, and the movement from base really was actually a cut above in terms of him actually getting back into that. Super elegant, fast reaction times, the rails were just impeccable, and it was that just sheer early game lead, right? Once he had that much of a lead, sure, we saw Tox before, he was starting to get back into it in the late game, but it's just not enough. With the sheer amount he had to play with there, as you can see on the replay, it's just such a hard margin. You really just can't quite do it, Zoo.
I lost track there that we just saw on screen. That was brilliant. Base has a chance to get 8 points.
Yeah.
That's what we're left with at the moment. The pressure's almost like back over to him. You've had a brilliant first couple of maps, and now you get to that stage where if you don't win the third map, it's like, oh my god, the missed opportunity for all those points to add to the global ranking to lead my way nicely to the next LAN. I think this is where base has got to go Super Saiyan if he hasn't already.
Yeah, if there's a time where you can go over 9,000, absolutely give it your all, right? Put everything into hyperdrive and just go for it, because we're seeing the confidence is at least there. It's bubbling over the pot. Some of the lampooning he was doing going into that game as well. So many ruses to just try and throw his opponent off. So it looks like he has the upper hand. He just needs to keep it there. Yeah,
and I believe we have Molten Falls at the end, and we have Nyx versus Anarchy. So Nyx is base, really good next play. Anarchy from Tox. A lot of people have been watching Tox's streams, and things he can do with Anarchy it's something special. It almost rivals his Slash. But again, it's about that confidence and not just that, but the execution, because his rails have been off.
Yeah.
And if Tox's rails off, then I feel like he doesn't have enough contingency plans to fall back on.
Yeah, he has sort of basically put all of his eggs into one basket, whereas it's the complete flip side of what we've seen from base. In terms of actually just the understanding and the predictions were crazy. I think that's the best display we've had all day. But let's see if it is going to carry on being a very, very beautiful display as we'll delve back in. It's map 3 of our second series here of the day in the Quake Pro League. Tox versus base. Let's kick it off, Zoo.
Right on, so base has got the heavy side of the map. Going to go for rail first. Managed to get some really good overstack by taking the rail light armor to begin with. And Tox, he's missed the first couple of rails. I hope that's not foreboding of what we have to expect from him. But I think Tox needs to really just ensure that he plays from the lead in this. He's rushed straight into base's hands, tries to go for the flick. Tox will survive. Tox just have to be incredibly careful. Do not give Base the confidence that he loves to have at the beginning of a map when he goes 1, 2, 3 frags in the lead. I just can't see Tox coming back if he allows it to happen.
No, Base is just far too powerful. When you give him an inch, he just takes an absolute mile, especially on a map like this as well. It sets you up essentially. When you have Nyx as the champ as well, the fact of just sheerly how much he can negate and get away into these fights with the amount of map control he can gain, it could be a really unpredictable affair. A minute in though, just a transfer of damage between our two champs right now. As Nyx setting himself up, Base looking to try and do damage, going to go into the walk so he can get away. That was a really nice movement actually on the escape there.
That's so sick from Base. That is so disgustingly good actually. Just the punish on the damage.
Wow.
And I don't see people making that route towards the rail, the rock out. Okay, Tox just never mind, just goes in with the LG and says, okay, and now for my next trick, he's going to take the lead. Off the beginning of the game, we have something different for Tox to work with.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking about the movement being beautiful. Tox, he doesn't want to allow that crown to be taken from him, so it really makes sense he's going to fight back into it. Lightning gun in hand, though, as the movement definitely starts to play an affair, bouncing his way around, just got out a slight inkling of where Nyx is at this point as the shots come through, trying to tag that on towards Base, but not quite getting it just yet.
Ooh, I think he may have spotted a toe then.
I think so.
His sensors are going, but he might want to... Well, he's got so much health already, and Mega being up, it's like, what do I get from this? Let me just pressure my opponent a little bit more to begin with. Heavy is going to be certainly more important for him. This is good, getting a little bit of speed, moving into the heavy room. He's trying to scout everywhere, wants to make sure it's safe. This does kind of cut down the possibilities, and now knows, okay, he's coming from the rail room. He hasn't got the heavy yet, so there's going to be a bit of a drop down. Still 100 health, not railable at all. It's just about executing that last shot, and he can't find it to close it out for a second.
That's so rough. It was nicely done. The rockets were really poised. He was able to get away with the armor. He's in a much better position in terms of the stack right now, although that shot will start to neutralize things ever so slightly. But backing off, that'll definitely help him. Puts himself back into a powerful position, although the lightning gun straight into the rocket. When it comes to rocket, Base is going to be the one rocking himself ahead.
What's the spawn? He's going to find him just. That was insanely close.
That's 10 HP, Zoot.
Yeah, for Bases first, he just had such a good opening rocket. Oh, quiet. Easy does it. I think the Predator is left, so I can just move swiftly on. He's going to give up that Mega Health for free. No need to challenge on that. And he's going to have a bit of a guesstimate, really, at when Tox took the item. Wow, that was a big rocket to try and go for. I think he wants to leave a little bit. It's like, right, I didn't take Mega. Well, it looks like I'm not taking Heavy either. I've got a Ghost Walk and a Dream. Let's see what we can make happen.
Still nailing his momentum around the map as well with the movement. Base playing it slow, as you said, essentially trying to find himself a slight edge, a quick switch to the rail, but it wasn't fast enough to land it. Luckily, he does have that Ghost Walk to get away, and that's the juke we wanted to see as well. He got out of there, but the adjustment from Tox was far too fast. He gets himself back into position, and now we are equalized, 2-2 apiece.
I think the funny thing there is that Tox made that adjustment of his route just because that's what Base did beforehand, and the repetition made Base predictable in that instance. So I think he's got to watch out for that. He's got to stop doing that trick if we get another of those situations crop up, which is absolutely possible. Base is trying to do more than just keep it tied up. Oh, that rail, though, with these light champion stacks, all of a sudden that's enough to for you to lose any kind of momentum. And never mind, it might come right back here as he forces the Ghost Walk out, but he's not able to hunt him down at all. Heavy's up next. He doesn't want to drop it. And he ends up dropping on the lightning gun. We've talked about this earlier. This is dangerous to do. Loads of damage has been done by Base. Manages to hit a rocket, but just gets through the teleporter. Little chaos just then. That rail was insanely close as well. And somehow we leave that situation with no frags happening.
Yeah, I mean, that was pure lunacy of a fight, and it looks like it's going to start to kick off once again, finally. The railgun's going to reign supreme as Base finds himself a nice safety point now, getting himself to a third frag straight into the lightning gun as they're going to juke it out between them both. Low HP, he realizes it's time to call it quits, back off, use that ability to get himself away, and actually try and take some time out. Although Tox, he's not giving him any breathing room. He's straight in, tagging him down with the lightning gun. If he lands the rockets, though, that could be the different maker. The rail is going to land, and he somehow saves himself, Zoot. 3-3.
That was really close there. We've got a push from base. Tox really wants to get him down below where he can get onto the mega health, but it's so dangerous. Giving a lot of respect to base, but managed to get the punishing rail at the end. That was incredibly important to hit. In for the heavy armor. Gets 225s as well to work on. And I think Tox is actually overall happy with that trade. And even happier now. Goes for the spam shot at the end, but base is running.
Thing is, base has to as well. This is far too risky to get yourself overzealous or overthrown, although he might not get a chance there. As the re-aggression comes around, he was spotted out. He hasn't had much time to get too much to add to his stack, but at least he's in a fairly good position to play with. 6 minutes 12 on the clock. The Mega's going to be taken. Tox adding that armor as well. He's looking pretty darn strong right now.
Yeah, but base has totally left the heavy alone, and Tox is in a really dominant position at the moment. There's still 10 seconds for the Ghost Walk. Tox knows that he needs to find him as soon as possible to really have a big chance of securing a kill. But we just had a couple of hourglasses taken. Base is going to use it again. Is he going to get found?
Oh.
He does manage to hit a rail. Tox all of a sudden can't think about rocket jumping up. And it looks like he can't even think about the mega health. He's left that alone completely.
He's really had to divert the plans that he had going into this one. This has been much more of a closer game than we've seen all day, but this is where it could start to give them a lead. The switch to the railgun, it's going to come through. It'll save the day for him as base gets himself to 4. Tox, though, he was so close. He got him down to 41 HP with the LG. This is just madness.
Oh my god, that flick rail. Problem for Tox, though, is I think he lost sight of the items, which made his positions no longer as strong as they could have been. Base went from going to the mega health with Tox neglected, but it's fine to neglect that as long as he keeps a hold of the heavy. And he was at risk of losing their heavy, so he runs in to rush it down so that the situation doesn't get worse, and unfortunately for him, it got worse anyway.
Some of the shots we've actually seen land right now are just absolutely wild flicks. Wrist breakers indeed. Tank going to be picked up there though as he gets himself the armor to play with. Spamming down with a lightning gun. Absolutely obliterating him as he's just starting to rip his way through now. Really building up that fast-paced play.
Base is still going to respect Tox though, and accept that he can certainly make that comeback. It means control and doing damage out of control is absolutely critical. Still a few seconds left until it's heavy, and he's deciding he's actually moving away from the heavy almost completely, trying to get the timing right to do damage to Johnson the drop down. A good rail is not bad at all, but now it's about survival. And just going for the spam shot because he's really feel. Oh, Tox hits it somehow! Oh. He's been inconsistent with his rails today, but that is a blinder. He needed that.
That is just wild. I'm blown away by that one. That was just absolutely mind-boggling, but we're straight back into it. There's no downtime. There's no time to revel in the sheer brilliance of the shots we've been witnessing right now as they want to keep this one going. It's all-out warfare. The spam coming in, so the initial tag is going to drop him down. He's only got 100 health. Luckily, he'll grab himself some more armor as he scavenges any additional edge. The rails are still being tapped through, but base is the better competitor at this point. 6-4 as we hit the 9-minute mark, Zoo.
Tox was banking on the fact that he was going to get a positive rail exchange, but base is executing flawlessly as well. Tox hits one, follow-up misses. Tox, he may be railable. He's picked up some 25s now, and he knows exactly what base is up to, but he's going to chase regardless. He's just got to hit a rail. You have to hit one rail, and he lands it. We got 45 seconds to go. The game is still on.
Zeus, this could be an overtime, Zeus, if it carries on like this, because it's just bizarre how this one is going right now. It is so close. Base is incredibly low as well. Tox doing a ridiculous amount of face damage as they start to burn their way through each other, barely missing on the rail, but still looking to re-aggress. Although base, he'll take that lead. He'll decimate the chance of Tox getting back into the game as it goes 7-5 with 30 seconds remaining. Surely it's done.
Yeah, base is still on high alert at the moment. Tox can make some madness happen, but each second that ticks down is an extra bit of relief for base. Now 10 seconds, and that's it. Base just more clutch than Tox, I think, is the moral of this story.
That is just crazy. He wanted one more for show, but he won't quite get it. Nyx I spoke about her being exciting to watch. Perfect execution there with the Ghost Walk throughout that one, but the rails were the difference maker. Both sides just giving us showstoppers.
Totally. I mean, and if you look at this, control this time was better for Tox, so he did great there. His rail had improved, but Base is still going super clutch with the shots that he's landing as well. He ends up getting 600 extra total damage during that map, and I think that's really it. If you're out of control a bit and you're not getting as many items as you want, you have to be dealing more damage, and I think Base's success with that is on par. And his clutchness, honestly, just really clutch.
Like, some of the actual moves that we saw coming through in terms of his like handiwork with his feet, very quick, massive level of adjustment. Again, the predictions were just flawless. I really think that's some of the best predicting we've seen all day.
Yeah, and those rockets there, actually, I love that. We saw that from the other perspective, I think, when Tox met his maker, but Base with the perfect initial rockets. And he's just reacting with these disgusting shots. But you see that Tox is also trying to outwit him as well and outpace him. That shot was insane because it looked like Base had an advantage on the angle. I mean, it's just Nyx versus Anarchy, especially with two players like this that have such contrasting styles. It's just raw entertainment.
It's been so beautiful to watch these actually like sheer different matchups as well we've had today. If we carry on getting games like this, it's going to be absolutely jam-packed.
Yeah, but I don't know how I'll get to sleep. It'll just be crossing my mind
so
all day. Exactly. But yeah, GG to Base. I mean, he gets himself 8 points from that. That's definitely something to write home about.
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately for Tox, I wouldn't be sweating yet, but you know now how much more you need to do for the rest of the online season to keep yourself up in the leaderboards.
Yeah, I mean, in Base's case, though, you know, he can quite happily now print that result off. That's going on the fridge.
Yep.
His whole family are going to be excited off the back of that one because you need to try and come in. If you can find yourself an opportunity to get 3 O's right now, you damn as hell want to do it because it's such a lead in terms of the overall standings. It's really going to give you an edge in trying to get closer as well towards those sort of bigger bonuses they've had of the players that had good results at QuakeCon. This is how you want to try and really start to decimate your way through and climb up that ranking. So huge, huge stuff.
And this is, out of all the series